So, as promised, we're going to talk about how to build out um, Node app, including Express and several other things, including MongoDB, Pug, and so on. And we got to a point where you could get the static and you could start on the CSS. And some of you, no doubt, started working on routing. This is what I built, minus the CSS. I'm tweaking the CSS now so it looks a little less ugly. So, wish everyone good morning. I don't actually do that, so it's a legit one. So wish everyone good morning, and click, and it's gone. Okay, and it does have some basic CSS, so it basically survives to this point, which is a mobile phone. There we go. So it will work on any phone. There we go, and delete. Okay. Now I'm going to strip this right down to somewhere where we left off before with the static, and we'll go build it up. Today we'll build some of the basic parts, and I'll build some more over the next couple of days, the videos, and it'll take you all the way to the end. Okay, so you have a guide to help you take your project from start to finish. Okay, so here we are. We have the static files just like this. We have a config file. We haven't used it yet. This is red because it means that GitHub is not tracking it. See, you never track the node modules. I believe I've mentioned that a couple of times, but just for certainty, I would make sure that I don't advise you. Let's see, come on, toggle that. Ugh, I hate that. Okay, so I've ignored them, and I've ignored any environmental file. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up doing config.env in the end anyway. So we'll just add that one. Sometimes people will actually do things like this: prod.env, dev.env. Okay, and they'll have your environmental variables that are for each section, each type of situation. Like for deployment, let's say you're going to deploy it to Heroku or Amazon Web Services or whoever, and they ask for certain things to be done. This is just for those who have Macs. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna ignore that, and here we have everything that we had before from the original one. So if we go npm, I think what do we have here? Start. Let's just do run dev. Okay. There we go. Let's see. What is it? I've set this up. I don't need this. Okay. So this is crashing because there's a comma there. Okay. That's the first thing. Let's see. Otherwise, it's good. And it says 3000. I must have fiddled with that at some point. There we go. This is our first video lesson together. Nice. Okay, so now that we're going to go dynamic, we're going to end up with some pug files. So we're going to obviously need to have a views folder. You'll see this everywhere in your on the internet when you're looking for anything with Expressjs Pug. So then you look using template engines, you install it. Do we have it? No, we don't. So let's install it together. I'm going to split this, it splits terminal. So now I have it, nodemon running, still works, right? And I have, where is it? There it is. That was the first one I looked at. Okay, let's move that there. And we'll install it. So shorthand for this, just so you know, and you may see me do it. D. If it's for development, sorry, this one doesn't need to be in development. This one needs to be for the production. So that means install. Okay. Just like you can do node dash version or node dash v. You just have to know them. Okay, so pug is there. We're still good all up here, and we have node mod. Okay. Okay. Let's close that. So we got that, and what we want to do is we want to have a layout.pug. Always want to have a layout, and then index.pug, and the index file, of course, is always the default. So that's important. So what we want to do is in the layout folder, you want to put things like that you're going to put in the head. Okay, so things that you would put in the head are, let's give you an example. Let's just, oh, I'm in the, oops. Let's go here. And there we go. Let's name this to-do app, just like that. And let's see, what else do we want to do? We need a block. So block is a special keyword for let me just get this in so I can stay focused. We need our scripts tag. Any scripts we do, we'll do it from here. Do we have anything there? Yeah, so we have, okay, so this will show that it's set up. So we want to go out of view, right? Because we're out in view. Let's look here. We're out of, so we have to go out of view, up to public. Ooh, I lie. Sorry, I'm getting too caught up on teaching you the routing. But since the rendering of this pug file will exist essentially in what's called sort of virtually in public, it means you don't need to go from here to there, because this will be rendered, as far as Express is concerned, from this route. So you don't need to go, you go like this and it won't show up because the computer doesn't realize this is the case, and then you go index.js. Okay. This one should be JS, index.js. Let's see. This file is being read from the my JS stack folder, right? That's what I said. There we go. Yeah. So see, it works. So now let's talk about block. So block is a special word, and what it's saying is set aside this block for something labeled content. I don't know why this is here. It must be a bug in the emit system. Okay, so now on the index, what we want to do is we want to say take the layout and bring it into the base here, and then block content, and I'm going to just paste some of this in, speed this along. Okay, there we go. So now, if we look over here, oh, yeah, that's not going to show up. My bad. We're still set up as public for static. So we'll go over there in a second. I'll stop with this part here for now, just to, actually, I don't want to get lost when I come back, so I'm going to put this in. But just, you know, hang back on understanding it right away, because see, it won't. Some things you just don't think about, right? And you just want to make sure that you've fully considered it before you do it. Okay, so now we want to go to our index page right here. Okay, and you probably read through all of this and everything, so I'm going to delete this. Path join, don't need path. Don't need this, because we actually don't need strict. There's I was reading, there's reasons now that for it. Okay, everything here. If there's an error, return an error. If there's no errors, we're on port 3000. Everything is golden. Okay. So now, let's see. What do we need now? Let me think. Right. Gotta set the view engine. Okay, let's do that. So app.set. See, set. It's a setting for the application. Okay, value for the settings. See, so then it's just like an object. So it says take views, look there, and then I did something a little bit different. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go path.join. Now it's going to say there's an error because the path isn't there. That's okay. So it's const path equals require path. Path is a built-in module that helps managing directories. So if you want to join something from a root or something like that, it's a bit complicated to explain just like off the cuff, but in essence, you just want to run it like this. This should work just fine. It's going to crash in a second here. Right. And so we have nothing except to say that this is running here, but we don't have any tests, but it will crash as soon as I run the test. So if I go app.get slash, and then I say response, and then I go arrow, and I go console, no, I go response dot set render. Okay, actually, okay, I'll do render, realizing now that I could have just avoided my error when I was just checking it out. So check this out. So there you go. So see, there's an error, and that's right here because this is referencing a variable that's not been declared or passed into it, and that's okay. So if I go to-dos and I know there's an object, so I could fake it. I could just go const object rr objects, and then I go like that, and then what is it? To do complete an ID. Let's see, I can fake it. I could totally fake it. To do hello world, and then complete true, and then ID, and 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Oops. There we go. So that should work. That might actually work. I'm just trying this on the fly right now. In to-dos. So to-do, complete, and then ID. Oh, my bad. And then I pass it in R. There we go. I've never done it like this before, so bear with me as I fumble around. Okay. Do not like doing stuff like this on the fly. Yeah, that's wrong. Okay, I had to try it though. Maybe I was just making the wrong assumptions. So let me just start render, and then index, and then of course it won't work. There we go. That's okay. Go over here. I pull out my dynamic elements, just like that, and there we go. So we have a form, we have a post method, and we have an API that we're going to go to. It's not broken because I don't have to click anything. See, boom, got it. And then I have a label, and the label says to do, and I have an input, and the input says, to do. And then it needs to be a name, and this name is important, you'll see, and then add, my add button, okay, and the add button is type submit, and all of this is pulled from, not all of it, but all of this part. So if we go here, and we go body, and then container, watch, let's split this for a second, see that? So this is body, and then the first thing inside the content is container. So body and then container. Just like that. Neat, eh? And there's your inputs, div, and it's talking about all of this. Okay, inputs might not have been a great name, but that's okay. So go like this, and click, and boom. Now we need a route. We need some place for the data to go. So I'm going to, am I going to pause it right now? Let's see. No, we're not going to pause it just yet. We're gonna keep going. I want to show you some more things before we pause it. I want to break 2 videos out here. Sorry, chaos in this small space. I want to show some more things before we move on. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to add 2 important components, and they're going to copy and paste just in here. Okay, and you want to use them every time. See, express URL encoded. Okay. Pardon me. Let's see, Express. Okay. Is a method inbuilt in Express to recognize the incoming request object as strings or arrays. This method is called as a middleware in your application. So let's see if it's got a nice example. You'll see a lot of videos that talk about party parser, but it's actually that's built into Express. You don't need to actually use another package to install it. And you should let's see. Actually, this is a really good link. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually drop it in. This is way off of what I was talking about. Let's put that here. Further information. I think I'll just leave that as for you if you're that interested to learn more about it. But it just deals with the URL encoding and JSON. Right? It says right here, parsing the JSON. This parses. So because use is a fall through sort of thing, you always want to put what tools you want it to fall through before you get to a route. Okay? So let's see. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we actually want this to run. Okay, we're good. We're back into the game. Run the render. So we have our first route. Okay, we're going to actually do a better version of this, but that's not part of the application setup. So I'm going to skip going there for now, and then we're going to go to the config file. So we're going to go to the config file, config.env. I'm going to call it fake so that you can not forget. You have to take the fake dot off, okay? So we're going to put that in there. And there you go. So you have your development environment. This is only important if you're going to end up deploying it somewhere, because there will be things that you want to customize or describe, such as port. And you won't want them to be overridden, or you'll want them to be overridden, etc. It's complex. So, and I have to know the scenario, so you just have to ask me, do I need to do this here or there? And then this is the document that we were talking about, or the app, the database. That's the best way. So when I was showing you before Atlas, so before I go too far, I'm going to go back to the MongoDB thing that I was showing you before. So if you go to collections, that's the part of the terminology for MongoDB. Click on collection. Wow, this is actually, so there you go. So that's the to-do app. See that? To-do app. To-do app. Okay. And this is called is generated by the model. And we'll do a model in the next video. Okay? And that model defines this here. So create a database. It's called to-do app. If you don't create it, it doesn't matter, because if you label it there, then it'll get generated here. Okay? But if you go back, let's see, can we go back? There we go. So here you can click connect, and then you say connect to your database, through this URI. See? URI. And then you click copy, and you copy and paste it in there, and it'll also not have a password. So if you look here, it'll not have your password, and whatever your user is, it'll be that, and also it'll default to test, not to do app. Okay? That's just how Mongo is set up. So I'll just minimize this. I'll probably have to go back to it at some point. Okay, so now we have our config, which I won't need to run for this video, so we won't worry about it. Okay, and then we have our first route, and now what we want to do is I want to bring in that this here. Technically, this here, it doesn't mean anything because it's just sitting there, right? Remember, with everything in the web, how we connect is always important, right? So let's just do that nice and slow, a little slower. So you go here, get it up at the top. So the first thing you want to do is you want to bring in .env. So let's see, do we have .env? No, we don't. So guess what? npm .env. Boom. Vulnerabilities, all things are wonderful. We should all be so lucky. So let's go back over here. .env, there we go. So .env is now being recognized, but is declared and its value is not read. So the next thing we want to do is we want to bring in the configuration method. See? Let's see here. Dot. Okay, and it's showing you. There we go. These are the two methods right here. Okay? So config. And then you want to pass it an object. And the object will contain the path to the config file. Okay, so we're here, right? So if we look across, it's at the root. So /conf. Let's just help get a little bit of help from the machine. There we go. And then fake. So I'm going to do config.env. Okay, so that it's running on my system correctly. And then debug. This is true. There we go. Okay. A little bit of a boo-boo here. I don't actually need to do that. I'm just going to go process dot env debug. Let's see. Did I name it that? This is a mirror of my file except for a password. So let's see. We're good. Okay. So that's awesome. So I'm going to pause it again. I'm going to put my own env file in there. Okay, now that my file's in there, I'm going to run it. And everything looks good. Do you ever notice this, by the way? You can type in RS. I actually didn't do it for years, so if you didn't notice it or you just kind of glanced at it, there we go. So this process.env debug is this. Everything in this file is process.env debug. See this? Process.env port. Or 3000. Let's go back to, that's why actually if you look down here, see, as soon as I brought in my files, and up here it was 3000. Now I know how it ended up with 5000. Okay, there we go. This is a fallback to have OR. So that this is undefined, okay, like this. Okay, if it's undefined, it will fall back to 5000. Okay. Okay. So there we go. We're good. Let's just shut it down and start it again, just to make sure everything's good. Okay, I'm gonna push this up a bit. Okay. Okay. Now I'm gonna set up a little discussion file. Discussion.md. Okay. So what we have is m B, C. So model, view, oh my goodness, controller. You don't know how hard that was to do actually just now. So the view is pug. Controller is logic. Okay? So if there's some logic with your application, which there should be, business logic, so business logic, then this is where it would go. And then this one, model, is where you define your data structure. One of the things that I always find a little bit confusing, and I'm saying it this way, by the way, if you go and you look it up, you can absolutely look it up someplace like this. This is the MVC. I looked it up here when I was first learning it, is they'll say that business logic is in the model. I'll show you a model, and I don't know if you'll feel differently, but that's not words that click with me. When I'm thinking about logic, I'm thinking about the command and control of a controller. The thing that says, I see this, now do this. I'm going to take this and I'm going to do that. And then the model says, okay, well, as long as the data looks like this, I'll accept it. Right? So, yeah, you look it up and you'll see it's a slight deviation from what I'm saying between this one and this one, but I've always found it difficult to explain. And when I was first learning it, I actually found it difficult to understand. So in my way, I've come up with a way of thinking about it and talking about it that serves me. It may not serve you. So I'm just going to tell you now that, you have to sort of decide for yourself. But I'd say the most important thing is first understand what one is and what it looks like, and how to describe it, at least visually, to somebody, and then worry about the very precise definitions. It's kind of like knowing a word like hello. You can say, I know how to use hello and in what circumstances, if I'm happy or sad, but you can't necessarily describe the dictionary definition of it when you first learned it, but you can start using it, and it's kind of like that. For me, I've focused mostly on communicating to people in a way that I find is effective for them to develop this style. Okay? So I'm going to move this out of here. I'm going to close this file, and we're going to focus on showing you a little bit of that. Okay? So we have the view. Now we need model. Model or models. You never know, right? So models, I'll usually just say models. Okay, and then we need a controller. Controller, just like that. Close the config file. Okay, so nobody accidentally sees my thing. So let's see, we don't have a database, right? We do. Oh yes, we have my database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at this point, and I'm going to produce another video for you, and that'll go into models, and it'll go into controller. Okay. Oh, I think we're missing out on a thing, but it's okay. We're at 30 minutes now. So enjoy this video, and let me know if you have any other questions, and I'll make sure that I add them. And I'm going to keep this discussion MD in there.